Welcome to Living with Victory Ministries podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Teague's Grocery and Corner Cafe at 130 Soco Road in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. In a moment, we'll join Tony and Laureen Giorgio with today's message.
There's a promise coming down that dusty road, and from his holy hand, healing virtue flows. He's got the keys to what you need. Death and hell he will defeat. Oh, there's a promise coming down that dusty
road. Teague's Grocery and Cafe, serving Maggie Valley since 1965, with delivery now available through Grubhub. Teague's is Maggie Valley's only grocery store. They're located at 130 Soco Road near the eastern entrance of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and the Blue Ridge Parkway. Drop in for breakfast or lunch at the Corner Cafe, featuring a variety of daily specials. Teague's Grocery and Cafe is open Sunday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Call 828-926-1147. Teague's Grocery and Cafe, sponsors of Living with Victory.
Hi, this is Tony Giorgio. Welcome to another edition of Living with Victory. And before we go too far, I want to take a few seconds here, maybe a minute, to let you know how to get in touch with us, all right? And we always forget that not everybody gets on the internet or uses a computer. So if you want to write us and give us your prayer request, or if you have comments on the program, which we truly love to hear about, and your praise reports, you can write us at Living with Victory, P.O. Box 1982. That's 1982. And I know you may not have something to write with, but we'll repeat it later on in the program. 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. Okay, that's for Snail Man. We'll get back to you. And if you have a request of any kind, also, if you want, send us an email at livingwithvictory@gmail.com. And now, without further delay, let me introduce and say hi to my wonderful sidekick, Laureen, who has the topic of the day and the verse for today.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're joining us for this program today. It's called God's Love Within Us Enables Us to Love. Mark 12:28 through 31, and this is the Amplified Bible. One of the scribes came up and listened to them disputing with one another, and noticing that Jesus answered them fitly and admirably, he asked him, "Which commandment is first and most important of all in its nature?" Jesus answered, "The first and principal one of all commands is, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and you shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, and with all your soul, your life, and with all your mind, with your faculty of thought and your moral understanding, and with all your strength.' This is the first and principal commandment." Wow. I got to pause on that and think about what he is saying, how you should love your God. The second is like it, and is this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Now, I know we've all heard these commandments. There's so much here that to just read it once or twice, you can't really absorb this into your heart, your soul, and your entire being. You just have to go back and read it over and over and over, because he is saying how to love God, because he knows that we can't love our neighbor without his love.
That's true.
Being human and in and of ourselves, we get so caught up in our own problems, our own storms, our own situations, and we tend to look inside us that we can't see another person hurting. Jesus in Matthew 14 14
Yeah, okay.
says, when he went ashore and saw a great throng of people, he had compassion, pity, and deep sympathy for them and cured their sick. You know, we could be living right next door to a neighbor that is hurting so badly they can't see a way out. But if we can't get our minds and our eyes off ourselves and love God the way he is wanting us to love him.
I have a quote from Pat Williams' book also. And by the way, we are offering the Pat Williams Unsinkable. His book is available free of charge, and you can just email us or go to the website, and I'll tell you a little more about it later. We're offering it to you as a resource. Wonderful read. But he quotes Mother Teresa in the book here about this exact subject of loving. And she said, I have found the paradox that if I love until it hurts, then there is no more hurt, but only more love. Just think of that. You get yourself off your mind, so to speak, and you become a lot better and feel a lot better because you're giving out of that compassionate spirit that God gave you. And you get yourself sort of off your mind. And even with Leo Tolstoy, the simplest and shortest ethical precept is to be served by others as little as possible and to serve others as much as possible.
And Jesus came to serve. James 1:27 says, external religious worship, religion as it is expressed in outward acts, that is pure and unblemished in the sight of God the Father, is this: to visit and help and care for the orphans and widows in their affliction and need, and to keep oneself unspotted and uncontaminated from the world. I know we've heard these words so many times, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are going through horrendous things right now. You might be saying, how could you expect me to care about somebody else when I'm in such chaos and have such a mess going on? We have a tendency to just keep ourselves on our mind. But when we step out and decide to do as Jesus said, understand it's going to be hard. You know, you cannot love someone unless you get to know them. And that's why he is saying to walk with him, have a relationship, pray constantly, read his word, and don't just read it as you're reading a book and just run through it. It's great to say, well, I read the Bible in a year, but you want to be able to say, I read his word and it is now a part of me.
If you're not reading it and really digesting it on a regular basis, you're not really going to get it inside of you at all. It's just like, reading a book you read last year and now try to quote something from it or remember it. Very difficult to do. You really have to dissect it and feed it into your mind, your body, your soul. And with the Bible, if I didn't do that on a regular basis, it would be a lost cause.
When you keep yourself on your mind and you get so caught up in the storm that we are in, but he's telling you to love our neighbors as ourselves, that does take another dimension.
Do you remember that whole mess of moving into Florida?
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And there we are in Fort Lauderdale, prospering.
We had the home. We had the money coming in. But as God would do when he wants to take you and change everything because he has a different plan in mind. And this is the thing. It's God's plan. It's not ours.
And, for all intent and purpose, it was going so well. I mean, there was nothing we did without at that point. After all that happened in New York, we really built a life for ourselves.
We sure did.
Everything was just great. And all of a sudden, 7, 8 years it is? Everything came to a halt overnight. I mean, it didn't take 5 years. It didn't take 2 months. It was over. Daddy, the owner of the company, retired, and his son took over. his son and my direct boss, who was the vice president of financing, did not see eye to eye. He took it out on our department to save on a budget. And I tell you, we always came in under budget. Never a problem. Well, he cut out jobs. The manager went first, yours truly. The office manager went second, my dear sidekick. And all of that ended. That's it. If you wanted a job, you went back on the truck. For me, that's okay, but the level of income now is gone, and here we are back at square one and barely having jobs.
You know, Tony's explaining now we're really out of jobs is what happened. We were thrown into total chaos. But, you know, when you're trusting God, even that chaos has order. Even though it seemed like we just ran out of time because we decided to go work at Disney. I had to be there at a certain day. We were so busy trying to get the house rented down at Fort Lauderdale. It was just total chaos. We even had to take a house unseen, sight unseen.
Laureen, for some reason, wanted to go to Orlando, and she wanted to go work at Disney. We'd had enough of the politics. We'd had enough of the community leadership and all that stuff.
I even wondered why I said I wanted to go work at Walt Disney, because it just hit me at that moment. It wasn't a thing that this is something I longed for.
Right, not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I had connections to get a job up there for myself. She was already in the door, and we were off and running. She had a deadline, like she said, to be at Disney. There was no real time to get everything together nicely. No, we had to leave. We took a house, rented a house in Orlando, sight unseen. We're off, and we're going to move to a place we didn't know anything about. And we're leaving a house rented by a real estate down in Fort Lauderdale, and that was supposedly taken care of. As we're moving forward and we're going to start our new life, we find out the house in Fort Lauderdale is actually rented by someone hunted by the law. That's a whole new program. The rent didn't come in, and we were up there in Orlando trying to get started. Now, we're giving you this picture because a lot comes of this. We get to the Orlando area. The contact that I had over at Disney was no longer there, and Disney had a freeze on jobs at the time. I was out of a job.
And my job was only as a CT. It was for a short time, seasonal.
Right. She was a casual, temporary employee.
There, I might have been put on full-time, which later on, thank God I was.
Yes, and understand this, I have a mortgage in Fort Lauderdale that's not being paid and is accumulating, and I am on the verge of foreclosure and losing it. My father dies in the midst of all of this while we get to Orlando when I'm waiting for him to come and visit. So now we've got a death in the family. We've got a pending foreclosure.
And my mother got sick because she had cancer.
We were taking care of her.
For 7 months she came.
So here we are. We're trying to start a new life.
And in between all of this that you would say were our problems, a 2-year-old comes along with the rare form of leukemia, rare form of cancer. It seemed like all of our attention was drawn to him.
Understand, we didn't have an organization. It was just Laureen and Tony, 2 individuals living life. And life, again, bit us on the nose, okay? And here we are again. And this little boy, little sweetest thing you ever saw, 2 years old, I think he was. Dad owned a gas station in the area, and they were turning the child away. We looked at each other like, are you nuts? Out of all of this, and I'm still trying to get employment, and my father's dying. And we took on this plight of this family without an organization, with nothing, but to try to help. Why we came to Orlando was God put it on her heart.
We didn't know why we
had
were
no
going,
idea.
But God knew that this little boy needed help. And who would ever think 2 people that were so messed up in New York were coming down to try to help this little boy? I mean, it made no sense.
Yeah, we were trying to stabilize in the area. moved right into the neighborhood where this little boy needed help in this family.
Remember, the house was taken sight unseen.
Again, we're tumbling downhill, you'd say, by society standards. We're out of work. We're losing money. We got a house in foreclosure. We lost it.
Right.
We lost it. And trying to run back and forth to Fort Lauderdale, you have to understand the chaos. But I got so taken by this family and the plight. They were working people. They had a sweet boy. They're telling him he's going to die. Take him home, make him comfortable because you owe us $26,000.
Right here, I would like you to just stop and think about that. This boy was dying, and they told the parents, take him home and make him comfortable. Try to put yourself in these parents' place right now at this moment. There's a hospital that has an experimental treatment, but they're refusing to give it to them because of money. The fact of the matter is, your son's going to die, and you can't do anything about it.
What can I do about it without money, without a job, being tossed to the wind, and my father dying? This all happened at the same time.
God wanted Compassion Children's Foundation to be born, and he sent this little boy as the catalyst.
And you have to understand the way we came along with our own problems from New York on the state aid and all of that. It was a training ground that we didn't realize was going to end up in Orlando, trying to help this one little kid and use everything that had come against us to help him.
God knows the end from the beginning. He
Exactly.
knows exactly where you are in your problem right now.
And if you're hurting like we're describing, get yourself off your mind. You'll feel better.
In the midst of all that mess, when the clouds cleared, that Christmas, both families came together in love. Your family and my family, because it was the first Christmas without your father.
Right.
And it was the best Christmas of love that we had had in a very long time.
There was a healing process there, number one.
Yes.
God at work. Number two, that little boy graduated from a Christian academy and he's teaching school. We managed to talk that hospital into taking him back, giving him the chance he needed, and he survived it. He's got to be in his 30s today,
Yes.
and he's teaching somewhere in upper Washington State, I think it is. Okay, and he's cured where they literally threw him away for $1. But I have to tell you this. We didn't have the organization, Compassion Children's Foundation, at the time. We formed it. Understand that we were so consumed with this situation, this family, forgot all about what was going on with us at all.
I just want to read the word compassion, Webster's Dictionary. A suffering with another, painful sympathy, a sensation of sorrow, excited by the distress or misfortunes of another, pity, commiseration. Compassion is a mixed passion, compounded of love and sorrow. At least some portion of love generally attends the pain or regret. But I have to say that love, Jesus' love, is the love that propels you. But you can't get that without getting close to him. And I have to say a life that is not close to him is missing something that is just so beautiful and so precious. And we just urge you to just walk with him.
You know, if you give of your need, and I know, a lot of us, we have catastrophic diseases going on, financial debacles. We were encountering a lot of that. Don't forget, I had the blood clots. That's what catapulted me into leaving New York. But out of all of that, within me, the Spirit of God was dwelling, and I didn't even know what was going on because I got so taken by this whole situation of this child that the foundation was born.
Right, and our problems just seem to be like shadows.
Nothing.
Really?
The house was foreclosed on, but we were blessed with with them just dismissing it. We didn't know anything. None of it really hurt us.
No.
Because we were so engulfed in starting the organization that we didn't know anything about.
When you do it God's way, you will not get burned.
Exactly.
Matthew 14:14, when he went ashore, Jesus, and saw a great throng of people, he had compassion, pity, and deep sympathy for them and cured their sick.
Exactly.
So God wants us to look at our neighbor as he would look at our neighbor and get ourselves off our mind.
You know, there are so many shut-ins in a neighborhood, doesn't matter where. You know, things like that you can go do. And it'll help you. It'll be a blessing. The Spirit of God will fill you. That I can guarantee you. But you have to read the Word. Because Jesus is really the umbrella in the storm.
He sure is.
If your life feels like pieces of a broken puzzle, walking through Living with Victory's website will guide you with hope and encouragement. Each page has information to put the broken pieces of life's puzzle back together again. You will find food for your soul, peace, and joy. Here you will find Jesus is the answer. You will learn who Jesus is and why he loves you so much to go to the cross for you. You will learn he wants to be your closest friend, walking and talking with you every moment of every day, and help you put the pieces of the broken puzzle back together to make you whole again. You can listen to our podcasts on your favorite platform, read Laureen's articles of hope and encouragement, purchase her book of God's promises for your life, contact us for prayer, or read about his love for you. Visit today at livingwithvictorync.org.